Welcome to part 2. Yeah, just to recap, in part 1 you may be wondering why you didn't see any casting involved in the actual fishing that we're doing there. It's quite simply that in Europe, with the nature of the size of some of the lakes and the different aspects of it, using a boat is quite common. Certainly with electric outboards, rubber dinghies and hard bottom boats are part of the kit. It's just considered part of the essentials. You are at a disadvantage slightly if a lot of the continental anglers are using boats and echo sounders and other advantageous equipment, and you're using the old casting technique with a marker float. It seems so long-winded, and why should we be at a disadvantage? Just because it's more traditional in England. So you'd be mad not to accept that part of the European scene is to use the boats and echo sounders. One thing I'd say is that no matter how good you are with a marker float, you can never ever find features like you can using an echo sounder, or indeed tamping the bottom with a pole, a long stick, and feeling what the bottom's made of, and then correlating that with what you're seeing on the echo sounder. You soon learn to identify the various makeups of the bottom, whether you're on soft silt, clay, gravel, small areas of weed. It all starts to tie in by feeling the bottom. You can't beat that. You see Jacko doing that. Good thing to do. Obviously the echo sounder, very important piece of kit. You can spend so much time out in the boats and find out what you need to know about the swim. You'd never do it. It'd take you months with a marker float. You've got the backlight on the echo sounder, so you can illuminate the graph, go out in the dark and locate feeding spots and actual fish, find out where they are and what they're doing and what you're fishing to, and reposition baits in the middle of the night. And very important and a big advantage. Obviously you can't go markering in the night and using tape and all that stuff. You can, but it's, again, you're at a disadvantage. So just look at the way things are being done and accept it as part of the European scene, and it's fine. Just another point as well, you might want to consider this at some future stage, is we're not showed it on the film, but more and more anglers now in Europe are using GPS, the satellite system, global in positioning. You can get them for about 150 quid, and you can take a reading to within around approximately 10 feet of the original position, so you can use it as a gauge and reposition your boat in the middle of the night with that if you wish. Even on massive lakes you can get right back to the spot, so you don't need to use lit up markers. Of course, Lee had never used a boat before. He was taken back by some of the things we were doing. He obviously a very, very capable angler, and he likes fishing traditional style normally, but he soon realised that he'd have to throw the towel in and get used to using the boat and get to grips with it. And as I was saying, Luke and I were showing Lee bits and pieces that were necessary for being efficient from the boat, and being a good angler like he is, Jacko soon picked it up. At the end of the week he was like an old hand at it, and well chuffed with it, and some of the stuff that he learnt there would be very useful for back in England, he was saying, for waters where you're allowed to use a dinghy and that, Obviously the old glass bottom bucket come into play, where you cut the bottom of the bucket away and put the glass in and stick it in, so it cuts out the refraction from the surface of the water, and you can actually see what's going on in places. As well as that, he was pretty thrilled with looking what was left on the baited areas, which was an interesting point. We were putting quite a lot of bait in, leaving it for a while, and then if one of us got a take, we were shooting over to the area to see how much bait was left. Interesting thing was, there was no bait left every time. So they cleaned us out completely, and the hook bait was the last to go, which was a bit of an eye-opener because we never expected that. Jacko and I were really quite shocked, because we thought our rigs weren't that bad, and they're not. But it shows how you can get a bit static, sit there behind the rods, and not realise what's going on, and be cleaned out. I mean, the hook baits went eventually because the fish were still hungry, of course, and they were going in and repeatedly probably mouthing them, and then one tripped up sooner or later. But the bait was probably well devoured and stripped well before the upbaits went. So the other advantage of the boat is, of course, you can have a quick check. If you've been cleaned out, just introduce more bait. But it also tells you that fishing some of the harder waters that you do in England, or any water really, that it would pay to rebait little and often to make sure you've always got food in. Because just because you haven't received runs, it doesn't mean to say that the fish haven't been in and ate all your free offerings. So we learnt something there, and we'd have never really guessed that if we hadn't been out with the boat and checked over the clear margins and having a look at what was going on. We've had a good look at the lake. Because of the logistics of the filming, we've decided to set up base camp near to Luke's house. We're near a fridge there and the freezer for the drinks and things. And we thought we'd move around, do some stalking, but basically we could fish from one main key area, and with the use of the boat again, we could fish at long range if necessary and cover most of the spots that we fancied, and make the filming easier, of course. One of the key uses of the boat, which is important, and I should mention, is that a lot of these lakes have got a lot of weeding. And when you're fishing for possible 60 pounders, you know, there's fish been up to 65 in this lake. You've got to weigh up the expense of the travelling, the ferry, you know, and of the trip, and you've got to make it all happen in a week, or usually a week. So the key aspects of being very efficient and landing everything that you hook. So obviously you could play them from the bank and bring them through various weed beds, but it's vastly better to go out in the boat with the net and play from the boat, get above the fish and land them like that. The success rate by comparison is ridiculous. You land virtually everything if you get above them in the boat. Trying to land some of these big beasts from the bank, fraught with danger. You could lose a fish of a lifetime, not even know it, so, you know, it's the way to go. The ground baiting technique on this lake, I've decided the water is very clear. One of the great techniques I've found for waters where it is as transient as this is colouring the water up. As soon as they see coloured water, they know something's in there feeding. There's been a disturbance and it usually means food, so they'll home in on it. So I've decided to make a slop, a kind of carp soup. And it's very neglected, this, but it's well worth doing because, as I say, you're getting the attraction flowing through the water rather than just solid hard bait on the bottom. There's more food signal coming out. They'll think there's other stuff in there and they're missing out on food. And obviously, if you can colour up the water enough, you can camouflage your rigs to a degree and it'll all settle and cover stuff, i.e. rig tubing, hook lengths. So I'm making a soup from various pellets, 4 sizes of pellets, dynamite halibut pellets, some 4mm mainline response pellets, put some bigger halibut pellets in also, 12mm, various ground bait mixtures. I've got a method mix that I quite like, it's got ground tiger nuts in and various fish meals. All the juice from the hemp, maize, corn. Some of the darker ground baits, especially the dark greens and blacks, the koi swim stim mix, for example, gives off a lot of colour in itself. Census black is another good one. So anything you can get in there, I mean, all the good things, big mixture of ingredients, and then what I do is put chopped boilies in. And in this instance, I'm using maggots. Because it's hot over here, we've frozen them, killed them and put them in the freezer. I like them alive normally, but the dead ones I'll have to do on this trip. Mix all them together, put casters in, whatever you fancy. Mix it all together, and it's the pellets that are the key to it all. Get lake water, cover, you know, get a big census bucket if you like, or big container that takes approximately 10 kilos of dry mix. Get lake water, cover it so it's really well covered by a good few inches of water. Let it all soak in, mix that by hand, keep churning it round, add more and more water till you've got it becoming sloppy, And then it'll dry out and set like concrete if you leave it any amount of time, if you've got too little water in. So keep putting more and more lake water in till it really is like a vegetable soup. And then take that out and just unload it over the top of the chosen spot. The interesting thing is if you've got oils in the pellets, you'll get a flat spot. And I've had it last for up to 24 hours, some of the great big flat spots that I've done in the past. So I'm using it again on this trip, and I'm sure it's going to do nicely, and it's shaping up well.
Right, day 3, after my sort of relatively being unsuccessful with the baits on the marks, I decided to, you know, take a little bit more time sort of placing my baits. You know, sort of went round there, and to be honest with you, you know, when I was really sort of taking my time, I was really sort of starting to get the hang of it, sort of lowering the lead down, feeling the, yeah, much the same as wood from the bank, you know, and I think I got it bang on.
It's like everything, isn't it, mate? There's a knack to it all.
Yeah,
and, you haven't half picked it up quick, I'll give you that, mate.
Yeah,
really.
I've sort of, you know, keep sort of circling the mark and see what you got down there, you know. But having said that, the first bite, again, come from that margin rod, you know. I'm just not meant to land one from there, though. You know, actually, it's tearing off, it was the bite, and you know, just nothing there, you know. It's
just one of them things, isn't it?
Yeah, but then sort of first light, I think it was, I caught the first one.
How big was that?
I think it was an upper 20, I think. I think it was around about 28, 29 pounds, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
It's a little bit difficult from the bank because there's a bit of weed about, and I mean, unfortunately enough, I managed to land the first one from the bank. You know, kept it all going. The lead drops off the lead clip, which is superb. And at that point, when that lead drops off, you can almost feel it drop off, and then you know you're in business, like, you know.
It's essential, really.
But one of the fish, it weeded up. I mean, it's all this weed here. It's like the onion weed, isn't it? You know, it really smells of onions. Real tough stuff. Yeah. Actually, fact, I mean, there's one lake I fish where we get it come up in one spot each year, and you know, the fish really sort of make a beeline for that spot, and for a couple of weeks, they feed like mad on that spot. But no, I think you know, when they get weeded up, if you got used to a boat and you can get above them, very often it's you know, just get above them and they come straight up.
Another tip is as well, you see people, if the fish is weeded and it's pretty well locked up solid, see them really bending the rod and that, you're not really getting the proper feel like that. So one thing I would suggest is if it's gone fairly solid, put the rod behind you and feel the line by hand.
Yeah.
Just proper pressure.
Yeah.
And you can feel a lot more through your hand. Yeah. And quite a lot of the time I've unplugged fish that you'd never have got out, just lean into with a rod, you know.
Sadly, when you say, I mean, you know, when you go sea fishing, you get snagged up on the boat, it's, you know, rather than sort of try and unsnag it with a rod, you just grab the line, wrap it around your arm, obviously make sure you've got a jumper or a coat on, like, you don't want to cut your arm off.
No.
And it comes free, like, you know, got all the tackle back.
You've done a bit of stalking as well?
Yeah, I've done a bit of stalking, but same thing. I was, you know, there was 2 spots in particular around there that you know, I was kept trickling the bait in, and every time I go back for a look, the bait's gone, you know. And I mean, one fish in particular, one spot in particular, I mean, they kept coming in and it's feeding on this one particular spot. But as soon as you put your float there, like, they come back, and I made one sort of real big mistake, because I had my float there, and then I noticed the fish feeding sort of a bit up to the left, you know. So, and that's what I tend to do. I tend to sort of watch them, just watch the spots where they go down and feed, and then like wait until they move off, and then try that spot. But in this case, I waited till this fish moved off from down there. Went down there and fished for it, and then one moved in the original spot and cleared me out. But they're quite clever. They're quite shrewd. It's, you know, yeah, but it's funny enough, I went back and had another fish for that fish, and I mean, by this time I had a pop-up on there, little, you know, just a small pop-up.
What, boiler that?
Yeah, but I noticed when it was feeding, I was just like throwing in half the boilies and just a few little grains of hemp and everything, and it was feeding ever so tight to the bottom, and I'm sure the pop-up sort of, you know, got ignored because of that. Yeah.
So did you try any other type of baits, or did you just put straight bottom bait on?
Well, most of the time I've been using sort of half of boilies and, you know, just straightforward bottom baits. But as it happens, you know, I mean, because of a spot I'd been fishing earlier where it was weedy on the bottom, I had a pop up, you know, so I could be sure that my bait was presenting above a little bit of weed, you know. Yeah. But on a clear spot, you know, on a clear bottom, I think I'll be far better off with a bottom bait.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah, I think so. I found that a lot over here on the continent. That pop-ups are really quite slow in a lot of
Yeah,
water. Even
yeah.
on weedy places, you know, they'll
Yeah.
still pick up bottom baits in preference.
Yeah, when you think about it, if you're clearing out the bait that you're throwing in, that's all in the bottom.
Exactly,
So you might as well have your
exactly,
bait exactly
yeah.
the same, you know.
Yeah.
But what about around here? It was quite slow, was it?
Well, it slowed off after the initial sort of, you know, mega start. Until I got a feel for how things were going to go. I thought, I'll just give it a couple of days, all day, all night, you know. Yeah, I sat it out all day long. Got a chance eventually. Played it from the bank. It was coming nicely. Got it all the way in. Got it under the other rods. I have the rods quite reasonably high, with no back leads on if I can help it. On this occasion, I'd had to use back leads because there's a bit of floating wind.
Yeah.
You were hanging around, weren't you?
Yeah.
Getting some kit out.
That's it.
And it picked up one of the back leads on the other lines.
Yeah.
Caused a bit of carnage, so we got it off. Got the fish really close in, felt a good fish. And it fell off after I'd done all the hard work.
Yeah.
You know, so it was a bit of a shame.
Yeah, you actually threw your rod down.
Yeah, it's not like me that normally. I'm normally quite, you know, laid back about
Yeah.
fish losses. I don't go.
Now, I
chucking
think, I mean,
those
in
around.
that event, you think to yourself, oh, if I hadn't used them back leads, I'd have been all right, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like back leads anyway very much. It's
No.
for that very reason. Oh, there we go. Always find I have more problems with back leads than not using them. You know, if you've got your lines out the water, then you can manoeuvre your rod under or over or whatever.
Yeah,
But
it's-
with back lead, once it catches that up, it's history really, isn't it? You know, it's,
Yeah,
it really is,
when you're fishing at ranges like we are here, and that fish kite, which they inevitably will do, especially in the night, you can have all kinds of hassles. So at least you can shine a torch on the lines, like you say, you know.
Still, you won't need a back lead when you come around here float fishing tomorrow, will you?
No, it'd be good.
Yeah. See, I see you trying to stalk one of them sunfish in the edge.
I thought we were going to give that a miss, not talk about me stalking midget. Never mind. I couldn't catch one of them either.
Well,
Lovely though, aren't they?
Yeah, they're gorgeous little things.
Yeah.
Like little cichlids, aren't they? You know,
Yeah.
it's,
They probably
you can imagine
all
in
the
your-
fish in the tank,
yeah, they
like
probably
Luke was
do, yeah.
saying, you know. He says some of the locals have took them home and put them in there with their other fish, and
that's
there's now
it,
left in the
next
morning.
day, yeah. Yeah, so you come around there tomorrow, yeah?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I'm going to try the old plastic corner thing.
Yeah, it's probably
See how
good,
they
but I
react to
still
that.
can't get my head around it properly,
Yeah.
but you know, it catches a lot of fish back in England. But now I had another fish, you know, a little bit sort of, well, a little bit later, so it's two sort of upper 20s, which was
Yeah.
quite nice, you know.
Yeah.
So I've get
Splendid.
me sort of name on the score sheet there a
Yeah.
little bit, you know, getting used to this boating about lark and, you know,
You'll soon be a veteran, mate.
yeah.
I'll tell you what. How long has it been taking? Just sort of go back to the stalking business. How long has it been taking before they've cleaned you out?
It's funny when every morning I've been round and throwing in baits and I'm going round there sort of hour or two later and the baits are gone. But it's strange when you first fish for them. They seem a little bit gullible, you know.
Yeah.
They seem very vulnerable, you know. But it's after a while, it's as if they sash you there, you know. There's sort of, I'm sure there's a bit of communication with fish, like they goes off and tells his mate, don't go over there. Like, old Jacko's got his, wait until he buggers off and he throws some more boilies in for us to have for nothing, you know.
Your legs exposed, ain't you?
Well, that's right. Yeah, I've been keeping quite low though, you know. I've been keeping them out of sight, or trying to anyway. But that's the problem with the first spot though. I mean, where I had that fish. I mean, when I first had that 33 pounder, like the grass was really long,
right?
And so I could keep well in behind it. You know, but now, because I've brought the landing net through the swim, it's sort of all flattened down, so you have a little bit of trouble hiding there. So you come around here in the morning, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't get opportunities to stalk as much as I'd like, so this is ideal. You know?
Well, it's obvious. I mean, the best chance around here is from the evening to. Through the night or up until about 9 o'clock in the morning really, and then you might as well
I'm not like you though, mate. I think I'll be stalking with 3 rods.
Yeah, more likely.
Just putting them in single spots or maybe 2, see how I get on, but I'll be using a lead on a couple perhaps on the buzzer, just fishing it in the edge, and then I'll try that old float of yours.
That's it, I've got a spare one of them.
I mean, you've had a few nice ones, so it's got to be good.
Yeah, that's it. Well, we'll let you know how it goes. Right, to sum up day 4, at the end of the evening before there was a lot of thunder and lightning, conditions were really muggy, and when we got up first thing in the morning there was evidence of fish spawning on the other side.
In the stalking bay, wasn't it?
Yeah, all over in the sort of area what we normally sort of stalk around. We actually noticed some of the fish we'd caught, was actually milting and all that, so we suspected it was getting very close to spawning time. But obviously not all of them was carrying out the ritual because there was quite a few fish feeding still, I think the first one I had was, I think it was £28, £29, something like that. I had to go out, that was the one where you had to get out on the boat with me. Do you remember?
A big ball of weed.
Yeah, it had a massive great ball of weed.
It's funny because it was after us talking about using the rod you can't get enough leverage, so we had to handball that one.
That's right, and it came up and it was a massive great ball of weed with it. And,
it's like a brain coral, wasn't it? It was like, it was massive.
Yeah, that's right. made a mistake yesterday. You know, we should have really sort of got up and done a little bit of stalking earlier because it was very muggy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I decided to go round, lucky like I do, was gagging to get round there. And as soon as I got round there was fish milling around. Straight away I see a few fish feeding. As per normal, you know, waited until they moved off, put a bait down. This time I had one of your rigs on, as it happens, with a plastic sweet corn, just pops up a little bit. And
a homemade one I might add, one that I tied up from the old use one.
That's it, yeah. For quickness, rather than sort of mess about, I'll just nab one of your rigs.
It's nice to know you trust me rig
making.
Well,
you're pretty good at it. So, you know, you had a few years' experience, and but I'm sure if the boat was on the other foot,
of course,
for quickness, you'd, you know.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
Anyway, I mean, there was a few fish about. Apparently, there's only 2 known commons in this lake, and that was one of the first ones I saw feeding.
Was it?
Yeah. It was a fish around about 20 pound. I mean, the other one I think is quite a bit bigger than that.
Big 30s.
Yeah, and I can remember. I'm sitting there. I got a text message from my mate back in England, and I was, you know, how are you getting on? What have you caught so far? And I was just in the middle of sort of sending him a text back. And I was sort of taking my eyes off the float a little bit, and all of a sudden just seen it sail away, and that was it. And I mean, I was only been sort of actually fishing for around about 10 minutes, and I was hollering out to you. And that time
we couldn't see you actually, because shows how well camouflaged you were. You know, we were coming round, and we were cutting across in the boat, taking a shortcut actually.
Jacko's got a good one on it. Looks like he's started that. He's just gone over this morning with one rod. Float rod, net and a few bits and pieces, and me and Len were just moving over, and he's in. So we're going to have a bit of a closer look.
It didn't look that big, the fish, from a distance. Then we got close. We thought, oh, it's quite a nice
it's quite hard to judge some of these fish. I mean, you know, we've seen a few good ones now, and in the water, and known fish as well. But
some of the big ones as well.
Yeah, some of the big ones.
But they said they weren't as big as
that's
they
right.
are.
Yeah.
So it's surprising.
Yeah, but no, that was another one around about 28 pound. You know, as per normal, lovely fish. About 28.10.
Jesus, yeah.
28 pounder on a lump of plastic sweet corn. How about that then? But then you decided to get on your toes and do a bit of stalking.
Yeah, I thought I'd do it a little bit different.
Use 3 rods.
I can't control myself, mate. Yeah. I thought I'll just fish on the bottom and stalk them with leads. Used just a bank stick and a buzzer. And I found to my cost it was a little bit awkward to do this, because you've got one big problem, and that's you've got one net with you usually, and you end up walking around with the net. I didn't do it straight away. I put the net near the middle swim. And then obviously you get a run on one of the outer rods, and your first reaction is to strike it and play it. And I was thinking, if I do that, I'm going to be knackered. How can I get to the net? Because you were some distance away. So one tip is, can't say enough really, if you're doing that sort of thing with single bank sticks, just walk around with the landing net, and then if one of your buzzers goes off, just run to the rod with it, you know.
Yeah, mate, that's right, you need to. I mean, when I was fishing on Conningbrook, very often we used to have rods sort of spaced about a little bit when the lake wasn't so busy. And then, I mean, the best place to leave your landing net was by your brolly, so you sort of more or less tripped over it as you run out, so I didn't forget it, you know. And but then I can remember hearing your buzzer sounding out, and I was sitting there, and I couldn't quite make out what the noise. I wasn't sure if it was a noise from the road or what.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I was watching a couple of really big fish on one particular spot, and I got mesmerised by them. And it was on the rod furthest away from the one that went. And I was looking at them getting their heads down. I thought, any minute now, and then absolute screaming run off one of my other rods. So I grabbed the net and come steaming round. You know, it looked like it always sounds like they took a lot more line than they actually have, haven't they? Really, it wasn't that far out. Bit of a scrap, got it weeded a bit, and it was only a comparatively small one for this lake. It was 19 and a half.
Sometimes when they run for a bit, when you've been away, sometimes the bad thing is your lead doesn't always release, does it?
That's right. Well, that didn't on that occasion.
I know that, with the runs, but you haven't been on the run straight away, and your legs come off the top of the tubing or whatever you're using, and not released itself. You know.
Yeah.
Swivels come out of it, should I say?
Well, that was the problem because the safety clip and the housing, the lead housing on it, come right up the line and was virtually winding it in through the tip ring.
I remember having to keep pulling it, pull the line, the weed off the line so you get it through the tip ring.
That's right. Yeah. So a few adjustments needed there, maybe. You know.
And then it sort of gradually petered out after that. Then I had a little afternoon siesta. While I just couldn't help myself. The trouble is, we're getting action every night.
We're getting on a bit and all, aren't we? Really, you know?
Yeah, well, some of us are
mid-30s, like, you know.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but no, I mean, we're getting action every night.
Yeah.
One or both of us is being sort of disturbed by
it's usually both of us, isn't it? Really,
we just want to go around sort of stalking during the day. So
I heard Len told me that you nodded off.
Yeah, I had a little sleep. I don't mind a minute.
Yeah, I don't know.
Actually, I've seen Len nod off a few times myself, like, you know.
I have a few as well.
Yeah, but then it was back round here to get the rod sorted for the evening. Back out there, and I mean, again, I was taking sort of time, with the market. I got it off to a pep now, but I think I'm sort of.
Oh yeah, I mean the increase in your
actions.
The increase in the action you get is tremendous. Like,
then I think it was just before dark, wasn't it? Well, just in the darkness, wasn't it? When I had
about 10 o'clock.
Yeah, about 10 o'clock.
I remember looking at my watch.
And,
we're just having a glass of wine and something sweet, weren't we? And,
another bite and another 28 pounder. Something about these 28 pounders.
It's the moon phases, mate, I'm sure.
Yeah, funny enough, 28 pounders. I mean, there's 28 days in the moon phase, I think. Actually, it's 29 and a half days, but it's 28 days near. What about the old moon phase? Do you pay much attention to it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, to be honest, I go fishing whenever I get the opportunity. I can't work it around the calendar.
Yeah.
But I know for sure if I was cherry picking my days, and say I worked in a 9 to 5, and I'd got 21 holidays a year, or whatever they get, and I had to pick certain days for quality fishing, I'd always pick it on a new moon.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
You would?
Yeah. I mean, new moons and it goes in 28 day cycle. So you get a full moon, then like 2 weeks later you get the new moon, and it goes the other way till it reaches the full moon again.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the same. I mean, that's when the biggest tides are. Biggest tides are full moons and new moons. But I mean, we really don't know a lot about his noise, isn't it? That old frog. He's disagreeing. I mean, we really don't know enough about it. I mean, we're only sort of really guessing. I mean, some of these guys go right into it, but I'd say definitely a new moon.
Some of these guys go right into it, mate, but we're doing it from a lot of experience behind us, and don't you? You get the feeling for it, and you look on your way to the lake. You're driving, you're seeing a full moon, and your heart sinks a bit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, maybe a little bit. I mean, you get overcast overcast conditions, maybe a little bit different, but it's but no, it sure is. Definitely round about the new moon. Amy said there is exceptions when on one lake I used to fish, the biggest fish on the lake always used to get caught. Well, not always. Often used to get caught on a full moon. So there's always exceptions.
I've noticed that in a full moon, if you're going to get a big fish, it's often that's the case. I'll tell you another pain as well. If you ever fish a lake with eels in it. Yeah, with a lot they're
of eels,
lively, aren't they?
For some reason, on a full moon, they really are lively. So if you, definitely don't use boilies, otherwise you won't have no baits on all night.
So it's the right moon phase at the moment. We're just coming out of it actually.
Coming out of the new moon.
The moon's waxing it. Yeah. Tim's keen on that as well. Tim Paisley. Yeah. He always tries to look at the moon phase when he can.
I know Rod Hutchinson used to be. He had some German friends of his who actually drew him up a chart and what they reckoned was the best days to go fishing. I can remember Rod saying to me, he went by this calendar thing and what they said the best days were. Being able to sort of choose and pick and choose his fishing times. And he reckons it definitely works. But then again, it was the same old thing, new moon.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, just another quick one as well. If you want to check moon phases, I've wrote about it and that, but it's worth a quick mention.
and it tells you quality days for fishing as well. And they seem to have done their own work, and they've got it pretty right. It's a couple of quid. That's Olmo's Almanac.
Right, yeah, something that's been going for donkey's years, isn't it?
Donkey's years. It tells you the best days for angling, shows you all the moon phases. I think it's about 180, something like that.
Yeah.
It's worth having a quick look and going off that, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's my tip for the day, I think.
Yeah, well, that's it. Look at the moon. Right, day 5. By now, I was getting quite a sort of dab hand at this placing boats from the boat, and sort of getting quite good at it. I thought,
Yeah,
take me time
absolutely.
and everything. And the first action was it was a 22 pounder. At some point in the night, I think it was around about 2 o'clock in the morning. Unfortunately, we couldn't wake up the cameraman to show you any footage. And then, as per normal, everyone wandered off back to bed, and then I think the next action was to you, Frank.
Yeah, that was a first light.
Yeah, you tried a different spot, didn't you? You tried a different spot.
Yeah,
to what you've been fishing.
It was long range actually down the far margin down there as we looked down.
Yeah.
And found a little plateau that was surrounded by weed, not much weed, but enough to attract fish. It seems to be like that when I've been moving in this particular place and trying new areas. I've been getting takes like that, so I tried that edge there. Not seen any fish for a while. And then there's a few had showed, so put it in and a bit of the old plastic corn again. Screamed off in the morning, and I can't remember what time it was. First light, I think.
Yeah.
Very nice fish that. It was 33.12.
Yeah, brilliant, mate.
So,
I don't think there was any more action apart from stalking then, wasn't it?
Stalking,
funny enough,
yeah.
I mean, as per normal every day, I sort of went traipsing off with my rods round. I mean, we've been seeing the fish in that part of the lake all the time. Been sort of finding them straight away virtually. And I got all the way round without seeing the fish, And funny enough, the day before, there was some spawning, quite a lot of spawning activity in that bit, and I think for some reason they'd moved, and I ended up right down there, and just saw one fish to begin with, then just lazing about in the weed, and I went to the next sort of gap on, and there was another one with its head down feeding, so well, that'd do, and waited for him to move off, and it was real sort of exciting stuff. Placed me bait, through 3 offerings, and after a little while, I weren't entirely happy with where my bait was placed. I couldn't quite see it, so I weren't quite happy. So I took it out, and in the time it took to take it out and just, clear a little bit of weed off, they was on me like a rash.
Yeah, they know, don't they?
There was 3 or 4 fish, including that big one what you caught, the one with fish or 2 halves.
The scar on it,
Yeah, and it's real exciting stuff. I mean, they was going, man, we only threw a few 3 offerings in there. I think I move off. Come on, go away. Let me get your bait down there. Wouldn't surprise me if it's in a £50 carp there. Wouldn't surprise me if it's not a £50 carp you're looking at there. Ever so wide. Just won't get away yet. another one behind, a small one. One more to go, just get out of the way. Look at it, feeding on that bait. Feeds around an honey pot. I just had to stand here and wait for him to move off, and well, eventually they just moved off a little bit, which gave me time to get the float back in position. But immediately it was in there, they just knew it was there, knew something was wrong, and they wouldn't quite sort of come into it,
Do you think it was the float on this occasion?
No, I don't. I just think it's. I think to be honest, it's a line. I think it's got to be. They just sort of.
Just something they suss and then they communicate.
They something, yeah. I mean, first of all, I thought, well, if they could see me, but then I thought, well, they didn't spook when I was watching them feeding. And they could probably see me then.
I've noticed the same thing.
Yeah.
Weird.
So what I decided to do, I decided to get another rod.
Yeah.
And bottom rod
with the old buzzer.
Set up on the buzzer and set it up in a little spot, just along a little bit, and just see what happened really. And I placed it in there, went back to the float rod, sitting there and. Waiting for things to happen, and also I had a real. I mean, I thought it was a bite. It was obviously a line where the fish must have had the line over its tail or back or whatever, which I struck it, and this fish zoomed off, and that was it. Replaced it again, and then a little while after this, the bottom bait rod roared off. Absolutely one tone a lot. You must have heard it.
Tell me about it. I was all the way down here, and I heard it scream off, and I looked down, and I thought, oh, nice one. And seen the commotion, and I seen two heads sticking out of the water. What was all that about?
Well, I mean, basically, we was. It's quite a lot of weed down there, and it weeded me quite badly, and but I was getting it all moving a little bit, and I had a walkie-talkie. And I know you had one up here, and I contemplated, calling you up to bring the boat down.
Well, I didn't grab the walkie-talkie because I was busy. I knew that it wouldn't have been much good ringing you out, just your head sticking out the water.
Right, Well, game chap that he is, old Len said, well, I don't mind jumping in if you don't. So I thought, well, go for it. And
he's a rum bugger, Len, isn't he? 40 grand's worth of camera, and he's flying about in the lake. I don't know.
But anyway, we got in the water, and I actually hand-lined the fish, and eventually got it all out. Got it out of the weed, and just at the point of sort of clearing the weed, it just zoomed off, and it zoomed off at such a pace that I come in with a little bit of a branch on my end tackle,
right?
And I think it just broke my hook link.
Yeah, caught on a mussel or something.
Yeah,
like
I saw
that,
the fish. It was good fish. It wasn't 40 or 50 pound. I reckon it was about 35. But
it would have been great that, I know, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah. And then really, I spent the rest of the day just really sort of lazing about. The fish sort of didn't come up. A real hot day yesterday.
Yeah, it was. It was absolutely red hot.
And you decided to sit out here and hope that one might sort of pick up the rod.
Lounging about, doing a bit of sunbathing and that, and then. Well, I wanted to see again if any of these rods went through the day, because traditionally on this week we've sussed it out quite well, and they've not budged at all really in the daytime. The couple of days I've tried it, and then we've been stalking and things. So I thought I'll give it another go because I'd seen a bit of activity down here, But it didn't work out. They tend to come in the margins, don't they, for sure?
So I spent a bit more time around here, and quite a few fish. I mean, they moved away from that end to a fair degree. Yeah. We weren't really seeing much after losing that fish.
That's what Luke said, Lee. He said normally when they're not spawning out, they're from one end to the other, and backwards and forwards all the time. Slightest bit of spooking over there, and they're down here. And
but I saw a few fish over there, but to be honest with you, there didn't look much chance of sort of getting bites. I thought I'd come back here and have a little chill out, have a beer, and then I went out in the boat to try and find. I've got two spots that I'm very happy with. The margin rod hadn't done a bite for a couple of days. No. But there was one area where I'd noticed every morning, carp jumping.
Fish showing there,
I'm going to have a scout around this area, and watching the echo sounder, and it come up to a shallower space, around about 7 foot of water.
Yeah.
And the surrounding area is like 10
It's
foot.
ideal on here, isn't it? That's 7 feet. Yeah.
Prodded it around with the marker, and straight away it was a real hard gravel. And
Donk, 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 yeah.
And then I sort of positioned my baits. That was one of the first ones I positioned, and when I went out there, you had to be real tight to the marker, though. And,
I've noticed that you're fishing really tight to the markers, aren't you? And we've been watching the markers rocking, haven't we?
Yeah.
With the fish rubbing up against them and that, so it doesn't put them off.
No, far from it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Luke's actually said. The other day when Luke was out there with me in the boat, he said, put it right next to the marker, but
Yeah.
And anyway, I placed all the baits, and that was it. It was all sort of happy that. So I was quite content and happy that something was going to happen, and I'm not really sure what time it was the first bite. Oh, it was actually, we was dog tired, weren't we? I remember that first bite, but I don't remember the first bite. The only thing I remember about the first bite is not hearing it, because we must have gone into it's strange when you've been fishing for a few days, and quite busy, getting action. And every single night we've been getting action, so we've been up and all that. And
it's totally disturbed our sleep patterns, hasn't it? It's thrown us really.
Yeah. I must have gone into such a deep sleep. I just didn't, I just didn't hear it. And the first thing I heard was you screaming at me that you've had a bite. It was too late by that time.
Yeah, it was a shame.
Got off,
Well, we were all the same. It was weird, wasn't it? It's like we'd been drugged.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But it's one of them things. The fish had got off. It shed the rig.
Yeah, about an hour after that, I was up again. And this is when you was, you couldn't, no movement.
Couldn't wake me
up.
up. Yeah, it's bizarre.
And that was, I can't even remember how big that was. But anyway, I managed to sort of land it okay, and quite a good fish.
You've had a busy night, mate, haven't you?
I think I've had 4 bites throughout the night, and what a superb sort of. Most of the action has come to one rod. It's been a real good spot. That's
that banker of a spot, isn't it? Not too far out.
Yeah, to be honest with you, when you're drifting over it with a boat, despite it being in sort of between 7 and 8 foot of water, you even in darkness with your head torch on, you see the area glow up slightly lighter, and when you drop your lead down, it goes down with a real hard thud, And well, that's it.
I'll tell you what, mate, you must have been absolutely shot last night, because you've completely forgot about 2 fish. I was there for one little incident, if you remember.
Yeah, that's right. I thought this one I'd sort of, lovely 33 pounder, and I thought I'd try and land it for the bank, which is I've done with a few fish this week, and thanks to you broke your bloody landing there. Oh, not again.
in, but they just snapped in.
Well, I'm getting through some landing handles this week. Dangerous Frank, they what we call you.
I don't know my own strength, mate.
You know, I'll tell you what, in future, I think I'm going to use something like that as a landing net pole when you're going to net fish for me. Yeah, but no, real nice 33 pounder. Cracking looking fish, you know, real sort of immaculate fish, and real sort of long one as well.
Yeah.
And then
you had one off your new spot as well.
Yeah, then the new rod. I mean, the new rod. I've seen the post move about a couple of times this morning, and then it roared off, and that was nice to get one from a new spot.
Yeah.
And
how big was that one? Remember?
That was I think it was 23, 12, something like that. Yeah, round about that sort of weight. But I mean, the majority of the fish we've had this week have been.
It's been great, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I mean, not huge numbers or anything, but it's all been sort of quality, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been. It's a gorgeous place, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to have a chat to Luke. And,
see what's happening.
Get all the gear packed up and then.
Yeah, and then unfortunately we don't want to go home, do we?
No, just getting the hang of it, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so let's go and find Luke.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Luke, it's been a superb week, mate. I really have enjoyed it. It's, superb complex, lovely carp, and we've had a real good time, like,
Good,
thanks for all your help, and we can't sort of wait to get back again, like,
You're both welcome back.
Yeah, I want to say thanks to you personally.
Yeah, I mean, thanks too.
It's been superb. I mean, I've been years trying to get fish like that, mate, and you've been brilliant company.
It's nice to witness.
And your partner, and that's been fantastic.
How big were you at them two again, Frank?
57.11 and 56.1.
Yeah, I mean, we said at the start of the session, didn't we, that it'd be nice to get sort of European best, and
that's the point, Lee. Didn't you catch a PB? You must have been tired.
I nearly forgot about that.
Huh?
Yeah, I mean, as it happens, I had a personal best French fish as well, which I was keeping it a secret, trying to not tell you, like, one of the ones we didn't recognise, but stonking fish, like it was 46.7.
Excellent.
And off the middle rod again. I was well made up. I went back to me sort of bivvy. Despite being sort of tired, I was sitting there giggling to myself and everything like you do, and real cracking carp.
Yeah.
But I just can't wait to get back again. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming down, mate.
Thanks, Luke.
Good luck.
I'll see you soon, without a doubt,
Excellent.
definitely.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye.